Good afternoon and welcome to Alameda County Water District's virtual community meeting to provide a brief drought update on local dry year impacts in 2021 and 2022. Thank you for tuning in to today's update as we are facing what looks to be a third dry year ahead, and we want to keep our customers informed on the latest conditions and ways they can save water. My name is Laura Heides, Director of Water Resources, and I'd like to share a few notes on logistics before we get started. To ensure the best sound quality on Zoom, we ask that attendees remain muted unless speaking, in particular if you are using both your computer and dialing in by phone. If you need to get our attention, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom or enter a note in the chat. If you have questions that come up during the presentation, we encourage you to please type them into the Q&A feature on the Zoom, and we will do our best to answer all questions at the end of the presentation. For anyone participating by phone only, you can press *9 to raise your hand to get the moderator's attention and *6 to mute or unmute yourself. Also, we thank you in advance for your patience if we experience any technical difficulties. In that event, please bear with us as we get back up and running. We're also recording today's meeting to make that information available to others that may be interested but are unable to attend today. So we will have a short 20-minute presentation followed by a moderated question and answer period. And we look forward to hearing your questions and comments at that time. Again, feel free to enter them throughout the meeting. And we are really looking forward to getting those questions answered today. Okay, so this meeting, just so you're aware, has also been noticed as a special board meeting of the Alameda County Water District, as we anticipate a quorum of directors could be present. At this time, we welcome board members Jim Gunther and Paul Sethi, who are logged on with us here today. I don't see any others at the moment, so we do not have a quorum. So we'll conduct this at this time as a community meeting without formal board procedures. If at any point a quorum becomes present, we'll pause briefly the presentation to just officially call the special board meeting to order and conduct a roll call. There would also be an opportunity for the public to make comments at the start of the public meeting specific to today's meeting agenda. Similarly, while we are not opening a formal board meeting at this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to make comments at the start of the meeting due to the time constraints or otherwise, if you need to leave, please go ahead and raise your hand via the Zoom app or unmute yourself and speak up at this time. And I note that
Ms. Heides, we have a quorum. We have 3 directors on the call.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Then that changes my spiel a little bit here briefly. So, and it looks like we have Director John Weed has joined us. So this meeting, as I mentioned, has been noticed at this time, since it looks like we do have a quorum present and we'll conduct it as a special board meeting. I'd request that one of the directors, and I believe Director Weed as our vice president, would preside over this meeting. So I'd ask Director Weed, we'll go ahead and promote all of our board members to panelists, if we can do that. And I'd ask Director Weed if you can go ahead and call it to order. And Ms. Chu, would you like to do the roll call or would you like me to do that today?
I can go ahead and do the roll call.
Wonderful.
Directors Weed.
Okay, good. Looks like I'm on. It's John Weed. Please do the roll call.
Yes, Directors Weed. Yeah, I believe Director Weed is already on.
Yeah, I said it. I'm here.
Okay, Director Gunther.
Here.
And Sethi.
Here.
All right, thank you. We don't have a flag, so let me let us not have a pledge of allegiance and go into the meeting and turn it over to Laura Heides from the ACWD staff to discuss the drought update. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Director Weed. And I will note we do have item 2 on the agenda is specific to public comments on matters of this notice of special meeting. So we could open it up at this point if there's any member of the public that wishes to make a comment at this time specific to tonight's agenda topic.
All right, fine. Are there any hands raised?
I don't see any of our attendees with a hand raised. And folks,
If anyone wishes to speak to the board, please raise your hand on your computer. And if you're struggling with it, we'll reopen it up at the end. So please, Laura, go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Director Weed. All right, now I'd like to introduce for our presentation today, Megan Moreno and Giselle Delgadillo, two of the district's water use efficiency specialists who will be making today's presentation. Megan and Giselle use their expertise on a daily basis to help customers find ways to conserve water and to implement the district's water use efficiency programs that are designed to achieve the district's long-term water savings goals. With the drought in full swing, they are busier than ever, and we're really glad to have them here today to share an update on the drought, and most importantly, what actions and tools customers can use to save water in our community. And now, thanks very much for bearing with us through this introduction, and I am pleased to turn the meeting directly over to the team to get us started.
Thank you, Ms. Heides. As stated, I'm Megan Moreno. I'd like to introduce Giselle if you want to say hi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Giselle. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, we really appreciate your attendance in today's meeting. We have over 20 attendees, so that's really reassuring to us because this drought has been quite concerning. Next slide. As an overview of today's presentation, we'll just give those less familiar brief overview of ACWD, a little bit of an understanding of current drought conditions and what ACWD is doing currently and what is proposed. And the majority of this session will be an opportunity for attendees to ask any questions and provide open dialogue. Next slide, please. So for a little bit about ACWD, we serve Fremont, Newark, and Union City, and that's over 105 square miles. Next slide. We were founded in 1914, so over 100 years ago, and serve about 357,000 customers. With 84,000 connections. In a typical water supply year, we have a diverse supply portfolio. So you'll see here in a typical year, 40% of our water supply comes from the Alameda Creek watershed, which includes the Alameda Creek, as well as the Nazca groundwater basin. 40% is from the state water project, so imported from the state water project supply. And the remaining 20% is from San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. Next slide, please. As you may have heard, it's very popular in the news right now. We are experiencing an extreme drought. It's the second driest 2-year period in 150 years. The entire state is in declared drought. And Governor Newsom has called on all Californians to voluntarily reduce by 15% compared to 2020. So the 2020 would be the baseline for the 15% reduction, voluntary reduction that the governor has asked the state to do. We, of course, want to bring attention to the fact that this is related to climate change, and that is a factor because we've received record high temperatures in 2021. So the message is drought is here, but unfortunately, it seems to be quite persistent. So current forecast is for a third dry year. So in the previous slide, I had mentioned that the state water project is about 40% of our supply allocation in a typical year. And currently we're planning for a 0% allocation from our state water supply. So things are getting serious. Next slide, please. We did experience some rainfall, so you may be curious about how the atmospheric river measured up to where water supply conditions are now. So in this chart, you'll see the rainfall tracking. For 2021, that's the dark black line at the bottom. So you can see it's pretty low, especially compared to average, which is the red line. So that is a significant difference between an average year and what we experienced last year. And you'll see that one green dot, it's 4.89 inches. That was all received in October, which is one of the highest ever recorded rainfalls months in history for our service area. However, that was such an extreme surge that not everything was being able to be captured. And due to the persistent conditions for the previous 2 years, just that one rainfall does not necessarily alleviate our drought conditions. So next, Giselle will describe exactly what we're currently doing about it. Next slide.
Thank you, Megan. So ACWD has taken a number of different actions to respond to the current drought conditions. And one of those actions relates to the district's water supply planning. So in order to meet demands for 2021, which was a dry year, as Megan showed in the previous slide, ACWD has had to augment its water supply by recovering banked water from Kern County. ACWD has also been maximizing local storage in the San Luis Reservoir, Lake del Valle, and local groundwater basin in preparation for 2022. Next slide, please. So another action that ACWD has taken to respond to drought is launching the One Saves Water campaign. And this campaign encourages our customers to take simple and attainable everyday actions to reduce their water use. For example, irrigating their lawn one less day to save water, or cutting 1 minute from their shower to save water. And this campaign is asking our customers for 15% voluntary conservation in their water use to match the state of California's ask for 15% voluntary conservation. And the district has been doing a lot of outreach to promote this campaign and get the message out there that it's important to conserve through a variety of different avenues. For example, digital media, local cable TV, newspaper ads, bill inserts, mailers, and including information in a number of community newsletters. As part of this campaign, the district has also been highlighting community stakeholders in videos on our social media pages, just having them talk and supporting conservation messaging so that members of the community can see a face that they recognize and feel inspired to take action and conserve as well. As part of this campaign, our water use efficiency team, as well as our amazing public affairs team, did some in-person community outreach for Imagine a Day Without Water a couple of weeks ago on October 21st. So we went out to a number of different locations in the service area, and we're tabling and providing information to community members regarding drought and the campaign and actions that they can take to conserve water. So that was a great way to really take this message directly to members of our community and engage. Next slide, please. So ACWD offers a number of water conservation programs to our customers. And on this slide, you'll see the water conservation programs that we offer our residential customers. And we've seen an increase in interest and participation for a number of these programs. And we've also enhanced a number of these programs as an additional response to drought. So in the next couple of slides, I'll highlight some of these programs in a bit more detail, but I quickly want to mention how we've enhanced some of these programs as a response to drought. So for our turf replacement rebate, we've increased the rebate amount from $1 to $2 per square foot of lawn that customers remove and replace with water efficient landscaping. We've also enhanced our free energy and water savings assistance program that we offer our income qualified residents. We've added new leak repair services to that program to provide that as an additional resource to our income qualified customers so that they can upgrade their fixtures and address leaks to conserve, especially during drought. And every spring and fall, the district hosts landscape workshops. So for the fall workshops that we're hosting, they've been drought themed. So in September, we hosted a workshop that touched on tips on how to convert your lawn to water efficient landscape. And recordings of all past landscape workshops are on our website if you are interested in that. And we have our second landscape workshop coming up this Saturday, and I'll provide a little bit of more detail on that later on. Next slide, please. So one of the water conservation programs we wanted to highlight in this presentation is our water efficient landscape rebate program. So as mentioned, the rebate is for $2 per square foot of lawn that customers remove and replace with water efficient landscaping for a maximum of $3,000 for our single family residential customers. And this slide here provides an overview of the steps to participate. So you'll start by determining how much lawn you're going to be replacing with water efficient landscaping. Then you will submit an application, photos of your current lawn, and a list of low water use plants that you are planning to install. So you'll submit that to our water use efficiency team. We'll review those materials, and if everything looks good, we'll provide approval. And it's very important that you submit these materials before you start any work, because in order to receive the rebate, your project must be pre-approved by our water use efficiency staff. So once you receive approval, you'll go ahead and work on your project. And once you've completed your project, you'll submit some post-conversion materials to our team. That includes photos of your new yard, receipts for your landscaping materials, a completed W-9 form, and a final list of the low water use plants that you installed. So our team will review that. If everything looks good, you met all the program terms and conditions, we'll issue you your rebate. Next slide, please. So we wanted to highlight a couple of key program requirements for this program in case you're interested in participating and receiving that rebate. So only low water use plants from an approved plant list qualify for the rebate. And you can find the information for this program, including the application and that plant list at acwd.org/rebates. And we also have other resources on there for the program as well, such as a frequently asked questions document. So at least another requirement is that at least 50% of the converted area must be covered in those low water use plants once they reach their full maturity. So, once in the beginning, when you first plant, it might not look like there's many plants there, but once they grow, that should cover at least 50% of the area that you converted. We do not require that you install an irrigation system with your conversion, but if you do want to install one, it must be drip irrigation. Any existing sprinklers must be capped or removed. So if you install mulch, it must be at least 3 inches in depth, and any hardscape that you install must be permeable. So we do not, this rebate does not cover impermeable hardscape like concrete. So if you're looking to install pavers, they must be permeable. And yeah, those are just some key requirements to keep in mind if you're interested in this program. Next slide, please. Another program we wanted to highlight is our Water Saving Assistance Partnership Program. And this is a free water and energy efficiency program that the district offers our income qualified customers. And this is a partnership program with PG&E. So some services that you may be eligible for if you qualify for the program include water and energy conservation home assessments, water and energy efficient device installations, including a toilet retrofit if toilets in your home qualify to be replaced with a more efficient model. You'll also receive information about ACWD's conservation programs, and you will receive the new leak repair services that we added as part of our drought response. So those include leak detection and repair for bathroom and kitchen faucets, toilet flappers, sprinkler heads, and outdoor hose bibs. And you can sign up by calling Bottom Line Utility Solutions, or BLUES, which is the subcontractor that conducts the energy and water savings assessments. And they will help you determine if you qualify for the program and get you scheduled for a home assessment. Next slide, please. The last program we wanted to highlight during this presentation is our upcoming landscape workshop, which will be on landscape maintenance and tree care during drought. And that's taking place this Saturday, November 6th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And it is an online Zoom webinar, so it is free, but registration is required. So you can register at this link here, bosca.org/classes, and just scroll down until you see this workshop. And the instructor is Charlie Dreschler, and he's an arborist at Redwood City. So he's very excited to share his expertise on how to maintain different types of landscapes and trees to ensure that they survive throughout the drought, because of the value that trees bring our communities. Next slide, please. So these are the water conservation programs that the district offers our commercial customers. Some of them are the same as the ones that we offer our residential customers, like the turf replacement rebate and the rain barrel rebates. But we also offer a number of water use efficiency surveys and water use budget programs as well. Next slide, please. The final tool that our water use efficiency team is using to respond to drought is our water waste monitoring and enforcement process. So the district has a water waste ordinance in place that prohibits water waste from occurring in our service area. And examples of water waste include excessive runoff from irrigation and leaks from broken irrigation systems. So we've actually seen an increase in the number of water waste reports that we are receiving in the past couple of months compared to the early months of 2021 that we consider pre-drought activity. We've seen about 6 times more reports as members of the community become more aware of the severity of the drought. They become more engaged and report any water waste that they see in the community to us much more. So if you see any water waste occurring in the community, please report it to ACWD so that we can investigate and determine who is the responsible party and work to get that addressed as soon as possible. And you can do so by using our online reporting form at acwd.org/report waste. And now I will pass it back on to Megan.
Thank you so much, Giselle. Yeah, in summary, we've been experiencing this extreme drought. So ACWD's launched an entire outreach campaign, increased program made program enhancements to emphasize drought conditions and incentivize people to participate in our programs, as well as increase our monitoring of water waste. However, unfortunately, we still haven't been meeting our mark of that 15%. So as you see in this slide, the orange line is the 2020 demand over January through December of 2020. So as I stated earlier, that's our baseline year that we're trying to reduce to 15%. That 15% reduction is denoted by the purple line, and the red is to year to date of 2021. So you can see that we're not close enough to our 15% reduction goal. As of September, we were 8%, October 5% less than 2020. And while we're still calculating the November values, the October values for the November 1st update, we're still not at that 15%, although we are closer due to the rains. So we, despite our best efforts, the Tri-City area hasn't been conserving that 15% that we're really trying to get to. Next slide, please. So what would it take to get there? To meet that 15% reduction goal, it would require a 36% overall reduction in annual irrigation. That's including parks and urban landscaping. So if 2022 continues to be dry, this could present an extreme or unprecedented emergency scenario for ACWD, which may result in state mandated conservation, so coming from the governor's order, ACWD itself declaring a water shortage emergency, ACWD adopting a water use restrictions in accordance with the water shortage contingency plan, or establishing stage water rates. So if we were to take that on and establish an ordinance, Giselle will describe exactly what that would look like.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, so if ACWD does decide to adopt an ordinance that imposes water use restrictions in our service area, it would aim to conserve the district's water supply by doing the following: minimizing landscape irrigation while maintaining landscape viability, minimizing water waste, and restricting other non-essential uses. This ordinance would likely establish a limit on the number of days per week that sites can be irrigated, with an additional day for recreation areas. Adopting this ordinance may also increase the need for water waste enforcement. And stay tuned for more by joining us at the November 17th ACWD board meeting. Next slide, please. So we've been, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I can take
again?
this one. Thanks, Giselle.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, just some of the actions that ACWD have been doing to kind of walk the walk is, and we have a demonstration garden installed at ACWD headquarters with examples of low water use plants and efficient irrigation. We use dry sweeping methods instead of pressure washing. All of our fleet vehicles are washed at a commercial car wash that recycles water versus washing them in-house. We use drought tolerant landscaping at all facilities. And we routinely do irrigation surveys to make sure that our irrigation systems are running efficiently. And we use smart irrigation controllers at our facilities to manage water efficiently with our irrigation cycles. And of course, more. Next slide, please. The main thing we want to emphasize today is that we really need your help in conserving water here. So ACWD we've come up with some ways that you can help us, but of course, we'd love to hear more in the question and answer section. So one way is to participate in the One Saves Water campaign and take action today to save water. So we have all of our content and ideas on ways to save at acwd.org/drought. Please share our content on social media. We have good tips and things you can share. And we'd also like to post you on our social media. So if you share a conservation tip with us, we can post it to our account. So you can send a tip along with a photo of yourself to publicaffairs@acwd.com. We have drought signage in our lobby, and there's like little drought signs you can put in your front yard that draws emphasis to your devotion to water conservation by watering 1 day less a week. And you can also participate in our water use efficiency programs. I would especially take advantage of them while we've enhanced some of them due to drought conditions. And please be our eyes and ears in the community by looking out for waterway situations. So if you see a leak, you can report it, or if you have a leak, please fix it as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So that's all for our presentation. Thank you so much again for attending. We'd like to direct it now to the question and answer. I think Laura has some initial thoughts.
Great. Thank you, Giselle and Megan. That was wonderful information. And we are ready here to begin our question and answer session and beginning with questions from the members of the public. And so we've got, I think, at least one question in the Q&A that we can take a look at and get started with. And we would also invite you to go ahead and raise your hand in the Zoom app, and we can cycle through all the questions. And I'll turn it over to Megan and Giselle to go ahead and do that for our public questions.
Thank you, Ms. Heides. So we'll take the public questions first, correct? Okay, so one question from BIM is, are there comparison guidelines that ACWD can provide for common activities? For example, hand washing versus dishwasher, car washing yourself versus car washing services? Great questions. Yeah, we do have those metrics. So just a rule of thumb is that we know that using a dishwasher is more efficient than hand washing. You can also look at the gallons per minute that your sink shows on its aerator, and then figure out how long it takes you to do dishwashing and compare that to your dishwasher, which should be labeled. But we do have some like end use studies that shows what's common in the US for those metrics. And then as well as car washing, the car wash services is much more efficient than washing at home. But if you want to put your email, I guess you can chat it to me. I'm happy to follow up with some additional metrics, or you can actually email water.cons@acwd.com.
Great, thank you, Megan. And I see we do have a hand up from Patrick Landrum, so I'll go ahead and allow you to, I've unmuted you. So Patrick, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just posted it as question and answers as well. Are we allowed to use rain barrels to capture water from runoff on the roof, from our roofs? And so that it doesn't go into the ground and into the sewer?
Giselle, do you want to take that one?
Yes, and we actually offer a rebate for customers who purchase and install rain barrels. So we offer a rebate of $50 per rain barrel up to 2 rain barrels. So the maximum is $100. And we do have some guidelines on our website that will kind of help guide you on how to properly install a rain barrel. And as long as you follow those guidelines, everything should be good. There's no problem. So yeah, I encourage you to go to our website, acwd.org/rebates, and read more about that rebate and apply if you're interested in purchasing a rain barrel for your home.
Is that allowed? I mean, I noticed other counties don't allow that. What I've been told by somebody who lives in other counties. Have you seen that? They want all the water to go to the ground.
I don't believe that's a restriction in Alameda County, but I have heard that in other counties, there's different kinds of guidelines regarding that, but not in Alameda County.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. I don't see other questions. Oh, we might have a new one in the Q&A, it looks like, related to leak detection. Megan or Giselle, which one of you like to cover that one?
Sure. The question is, are leak detection devices rebates available for residents if we buy our own? So Bim, I'm happy to unmute you just to give a little bit more context about what leak detection devices you're referring to. But currently, no, ACWD does not have any rebates for leak detection devices such as flume or things you attach on your meter. Although in the future, we are converting all of our meters to ultrasonic automated metering infrastructure, which then does have a leak detection like functionality. But Bim, if you'd like to say more about what type you're referring to.
Well, yeah, I saw that slide about rebates available, but it looks like for low income. I was I think there's this thing called PHYN. It's called PHYN. It's basically, it's something it's basically some device that you attach to I think you could attach to your kitchen sink, and it will detect leaks throughout your house. And then it's like a home IoT device. So things like that are not rebatable, I guess. You can't get her.
So not
Compensate for
currently.
those?
We
Okay.
definitely don't have any restrictions. You're welcome to buy certain technological devices like that would help you identify leaks. This is something that we looked at in our water efficiency master planning effort as sort of an in-between to getting our customers on AMI. So for those that want to detect leaks before they receive a meter in the next 3 years. So that is something that we looked into maybe rolling out in the next couple fiscal years, but currently, unfortunately, no. But again, feel free to get those devices if you so choose yourself.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Great question.
Any other questions? And what I can do is unmute folks just in case I'll do that just in case anyone's having any problems with the raise hand feature. I know sometimes it can be a challenge, but feel free to go ahead and put a question in the Q&A. Or if you can't find the Q&A, the chat works too. And I am going ahead and allowing folks to unmute if they wish. So feel free to shout out a question here. We want to keep it open here to the public comments for, as long as we need to get folks' questions answered. Okay, I think I've got it. Oh,
First of all, is there another question coming up?
I'm not seeing any questions from the public, and I did unmute everyone, so you're free to shout out. Maybe we can give it one more minute.
This is Pat Landrum again.
Great, go for it, Pat.
People that are already efficient, like myself, how do you go down from there? His question is, if you're already conserving water and you have to be down 15% more. So I just wondered how they address that as from a cost standpoint in billing.
Great question. Megan, do you want to answer that, or would you like me to answer that?
I'll just talk about the efficiency, and then if there's something you want to talk about related to billing. So yeah, this governor's order is unique because it's being compared to 2020 as a baseline. And so water agencies, have been pushing conservation since the 80s. And so it seems strange to have 2020 as a baseline just because that might already have a lot of customers being efficient. However, we know it's possible because in 2015, we were well below the 15% that's being requested. So we really appreciate customers' efforts to conserve, and I know it can be challenging to get creative and further reduce that. But Laura, if you want to mention anything regarding the rates.
Yeah, well, and I can maybe just add too, I know we do get that question about, I'm super efficient already. I like to be responsible about my water. What else can I do? And so one of the things I do like to tell people too is, we totally appreciate what you're doing. And maybe a way that you can help is to help spread the word and ask friends and family, about their water use, or help give them tips or point them to our programs. Because every little bit helps, even if you're not doing it yourself, if you're encouraging others to do so. That's my plug for spreading the word. And in terms of costs and rates, just simply the way our water is built at the moment, you save water, and whatever little bit you can save, you will save that little bit on your bill as well. And I would say we're not necessarily covering rates specifically today, but I would invite you to join one of our future board meetings where I'm sure we'll be considering rates upcoming here in the next couple of months. If you have specific questions or thoughts you'd like to share on water rates in particular. But does that answer your question or give you some tools or ideas?
Sort of. I guess the rate part of it was more like, if we're already low, and we get penalized if we don't go 15% lower is what I'm wondering.
get penal, you mean if you can't reduce by 15% more?
Right. I mean, meaning, are they raising are they gonna be, is the water prices gonna be more based on not reducing by 15%? Or you keep your certain rate now that if you reduce by 15? Are you gonna be penalized if you don't reduce by 15 on a monetary level based on, I just say gallon, just because I forget what unit of measure you use?
Okay, good question. So our board is in the process of considering what they're going to do related to rates upcoming for the next year. And so they will be, I believe a study is going to be in progress, and they will be presenting something, I believe, at the December board meeting that will cover sort of what the rate structure would look like. And I believe it will include some look at what we call, and we've had in the past, a stage rate, where, you know, in the event we did need to declare a water shortage emergency and implement a required reduction as part of our water shortage contingency plan, part of what Megan talked about earlier that we might have to do if things continue to be bad. Then if we do implement that, then that does put some additional cost on the water to help encourage people on a, you know, with a price signal. So that, you know, if you're not able to save, you may notice that a bit, but if you're being really efficient, it shouldn't be a humongous impact. But I would encourage you to join us in December and learn more about that too. We'll be, I'm sure, posting on our website as we go through that, and our social media and meeting agendas and all of that, if you're interested to tune in for any of those discussions.
Thank you.
Sure, and I see a hand up from Bim, or?
Yeah, it's me again.
Great.
How does that, you have that slide there, it says if you see any possible issues, you can report it. Like, what does that process look like? Is it anonymous? And then what happens if you're the ones that are receiving the misuse? Like, what if a neighbor of mine sees me washing my car? Like, is anything stopping them from reporting? And then, like, what happens? How do I get notified? Or, yeah.
Good question. Megan and Gisela, do you either of you want to answer that? I know you're familiar with all the details of that process.
Yeah, I can take that question. Great question. So our online reporting form has a number of fields that you can provide information for, and one of them is your contact information. And we ask for that just in case we need a bit more clarity on where the water waste is, what exactly you saw, for how long has it been going on, etc. But there is the option to submit it anonymously, so that contact information is not a required field, but more information always helps. So that's why we just ask for it, and it helps when someone is reporting something, they do provide that information. So you'll provide the address that you witnessed the water waste at, what you saw, a description of the issue, and then we'll receive that notification that someone reported that. And we will first determine if it's water waste. So our ordinance lays out specific scenarios that do qualify as water waste. So for example, if there's like a sprinkler head that's, you know, leaking because it's broken, or there's excessive runoff from someone that's irrigating their lawn, that is considered water waste. And we will investigate that, determine the responsible party, and then follow up with those who are responsible. We send them a courtesy notice via the mail. So it'll be a letter that provides information like, here's the water waste that was witnessed. If this is actually happening, then you may be in violation of our ordinance. Please address as soon as possible. So we provide a courtesy notice to let the person know that this issue was reported and that they should please address as soon as possible. So we have a number of steps. If we receive a report again for the same site, we'll send the second courtesy notice. If we receive a third report for the site, we'll send a third courtesy notice that has a little bit more stronger language regarding our ordinance and the possibility of invoking that ordinance if the issue isn't addressed. So we provide a lot of notification and time for the responsible party to address the issue before we escalate further. I hope that answers your question. If you have any follow-ups, great.
Yeah, I've witnessed more, not specific person, but complexes where there was a leaky water irrigation system. And I was wondering how to report that, but okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. I do see we have a hand up from Steve who hadn't asked a question yet, and then we've got one in the Q&A.
Yeah, I have a kind of a comment and question that's kind of on a different topic on the water delivering system itself. In our neighborhood, the water system's probably 70 years old. And in front of our house a couple of weeks ago on consecutive days, we had major leaks in the middle of the street that took hours to get fixed and get quite a long time to get it turned off. So that's quite a bit of water down the drain. And we had another break about 3 or 4 years ago in front of the house. So can somebody comment on the aging of the water system and I don't know, that wastes a lot of water when we have breaks.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And we don't have any of our main replacements experts and operations experts on today, but you bring up a good point that we do have operational issues that occur at times, and we do try to get to them as soon as possible. Sometimes I know it can be a challenge to get things shut down with valves and things that need to be located and isolating where the leak may be. So I know that's a challenge, especially seeing it during a drought. So I can share that just generally that we do have a main replacement and renewal program as part of our capital program for our long-term planning to replace aging water mains and other infrastructure as well. And so that's something that we update routinely, our plans for long-term maintenance. And if you're interested in that topic, I can actually put my email in the chat if you're interested in learning more about any of these topics that are sort of outside the drought and conservation measures that we're talking about today. And you're welcome to reach out and we can get you connected with the right person to answer your question.
Yeah, on our line itself, the gentleman made the comment that our T for our lateral line was basically gone. So that doesn't give me too much faith in what's going to happen up and down our street in the coming years.
Got it. Yeah, it is a challenge for not only for us, for our water utilities throughout, definitely some of the aging infrastructure. Anything else on that question? Or I see we do have another question. Oh, and it's not a new question in the Q&A. I think it looks like we've answered everything. Any other raised hands or folks that want to shout out a question? Oh, I do see a question in the chat. Will these slides be posted somewhere? And yes, they will. They are actually already on our website. So I know what I can do is put also in the chat the link to those here momentarily. And I would also invite, it looks like we may have some questions from some of our board members as well. So we can open that up to the board members to share their questions. And then certainly members of the public that would like to ask any more questions that you think of as we're talking, please feel free to jump in. So Director Sethi, I think you had a question. Did you want me to read that out?
Yes, I had a set of questions that I hope might benefit our customers by answering these questions. So first, how does a customer obtain a W-9 form? Many people don't even know what that is. Why is this required? And what if you want to use your turf rebate strictly for the new landscaping that you're purchasing, excluding reimbursement on labor?
That is a great question that I'm hoping maybe Giselle or Megan can answer as it relates to the details of the program that I'm not familiar with all those. So would one of you like to answer?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thank you, Ms. Fidus, and thank you, Director Sethi. A W-9 form is a tax form that you can actually Google and get the most accurate form, but we also provide our customers with the form that we request them to use with the submission materials. So when they're getting ready to perform the post-installation material submission, we provide that document to them. And the reason that this is required is, unfortunately, water rebates provided in the state of California are taxable. So if customers receive greater than $600 from a rebate combined, like if they got a rain barrel rebate and a toilet rebate and water efficient landscape rebate, then that isn't taxable income. So we use that form to monitor, like it's like a tax form. So ultimately, we would love for those rebates not to be taxed, and that's something that a lot of water use efficiency experts in the state are pushing towards, because a lot of a lot of rebates, like energy rebates, are not taxed. So a little bit unfortunate downside of that. But as far as the new landscaping, we don't rebate that because there's existing laws, including like MWILO, which is the Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance, that dictates what can be installed in new landscaping, which already has really strict efficiency standards. And so we really like to see the existing turf being replaced with water efficient landscaping. Hope that answers your questions, but I'm happy to go into more detail if you have follow-up.
Thank you, Megan.
And did any of the other directors have other questions? I'm not seeing any more hands up or others that want to chime in.
Let me see if this is John Weed, to see if any board member has a comment, if not a question, on the presentation so far. Director Gunther?
No, I think the question, I noticed one of the questions was, and maybe you could correct me, John, if you think I'm wrong, regarding the penalizing of somebody who can't make the 15% off of 2020, and that is that that's not directed at individual customers. Am I correct, John?
I think I was going to comment on that same issue related to rates. We're going through a rate hearing process, and we'll have it at our next several board meetings. And that will be included in that process is a Proposition 218, where we notify everyone in the community what the rates proposal change is, and they'll have a chance to comment or protest a proposed rate increase. Currently, we have a proposed for a system-wide, if we have a drop, primarily I believe because if we have a drop off in revenues, that there may be a rate increase overall. We have not imposed any sanctions on people who individually, historically, who had failed to meet a certain desired water use, and we've not rationed water. So I would like to, if they have, could encourage them to attend our meetings or to contact board members individually at, and my district cell phone is 510-766-6075. So I'd be open to anyone to discuss rates with anyone. It's going to be a board item in upcoming hearings. Thank you. Is there any other comment on these?
Yeah, there's one other thing I just want to add for those customers listening, that the rates process and what you get billed is somewhat separate. I want to just draw attention to what the ordinance that I was referring to earlier that was discussing rates and things. The ordinance itself is directed towards wasteful behavior, and no one is going to be penalized on an individual basis. So you won't get charged a fee if you're not conserving 15%. We're not looking at individual bills when invoking the ordinance. So it's like an overall community reduction. And there's not actual fines for going over under that 15% at this point. And that's what's it proposed if we do have to invoke an ordinance, but currently you're just paying your water bill. So I hope that clears up some things. I know we have other members of the water use efficiency team here that if they would like to speak can raise their hand too.
I would note, we went through another drought a few years back. And we put in some criteria for to take potential enforcement action. But not in a single case did we not encounter full cooperation from every customer when we address them on their water use and water consumption practices. And so it was been a universal response in the community to respond to a water crisis and a water shortage. And it's been very positive. It's one of the heartening aspects of being in this position. So, thank you. But I do note the issue of the challenge of race versus conservation. I'd be happy to discuss my proposal, which would eliminate that as a provision, but it's based on rate structure, and that's subject to a different hearing.
Great. I'm not seeing any other hands raised, Director Weed. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak up at this point and ask any more last remaining questions with the few minutes that we've got? I've got one more from Bim. You've got the floor. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Are there any specific types of business activity or common water use that the district puts more emphasis on due to the fact that they have the biggest impact on the water levels and the drought? But I'm curious to see, like, is residential is really the issue, or is it big commercial businesses that have bigger impact? Like, how do you kind of focus efforts on which types of businesses or activities are the most impactful to kind of address and penalize, I guess?
Great question. And Megan, would you like to answer that? I know we are 70% residential, so a lot, of our use comes residential, but we also have other sectors and we have some special programs to address those. So Megan, would you like to, or Giselle, would you like to chime in on those?
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I definitely, in like kind of conservation ethic, it's kind of hard to see that these individual actions really add up, but in our service area, they actually do. What single family residential customers do have a big impact because 70% of our water use goes to residential customers. So we do target businesses and we kind of have different methods for engaging them and different types of rebates, such as like processed water and commercial rebates and things like that. But we do support residents doing all they can as well. And the second part to your question, I'm forgetting. Was there something else?
I don't remember. I think it's just a word. I was just curious because certain activities have a bigger impact than others. Like, I was just wondering if that is accounted for, or but I didn't realize that 70%. Yeah, that's a big chunk from residential. So every little thing helps.
Hi, Bim.
This is Director Sethi.
Oh,
and
sorry.
I would just chime in that it's 70% of our customers, but somewhere like at least 50%, in some cases 70% of people's water usage is for outdoor landscaping. That's where we can derive the biggest savings in our community.
Okay, that's the thing I was that's a good nugget to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And if this is John Weed, the director. I encourage you to review our chart, which shows a doubling of the water consumption in the summer months over the winter months. So we have a base load, which includes commercial, but that is primarily residential landscaping that is during the peak numbers, which is really what we're targeting, because it's during the dry summer months that the water supply is at its greatest restrictions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I will just note, I know we have some of our experts on here, but we do have some specific programs targeted to some of the larger landscape water users, parks and such. So we do have a few programs.
Your son, I had a nice conversation with him. I'm so glad I haven't talked to him since all the things transpired with his health.
Oh, Steve, I think you're unmuted,
Anyways,
and I maybe not on purpose. Oh. Okay, I think we solved that problem. Any other comments on that related to special programs? Or other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions or hands raised. Director Weed, anything else you'd like to?
No, absent additional comments by the board, we will adjourn the meeting and thank the staff for the wonderful presentation and your engagement, and the contact information for the district is posted under the current slide. So I encourage the public to follow up and see what we can do to help. Thank you.
Great. All right,
Thank you,
thank you
everyone.
for coming.
And we are adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.